Every day for 30 days, I'm posting a tip for those of you who are in America thinking about immigrating to Norway after the results of the most recent presidential election. Day 2. High quality of life doesn't mean what you as an American are taught to think it means. We're still talking about getting your head straight before you even start researching this. So yes, as we go further, I will be going into pragmatic tips, but before we get there, we have to talk about having the right mentality. And today, it's that you've looked up Norway on a quality of life index and you've decided they have a high quality of life, that's where you're going. Let's just get this one out of the way. Life is simple in Norway. And yes, we use that phrase as a very good, positive thing. Oh, things are simple here. But I'm telling you, it is not going to be the pace of life that you're used to in America. And some might even call it sparse or Spartan. I think when we as Americans think of a high quality of life, we are very quick to think about creature comforts, even if we don't realize we're doing it. I'm not somebody that would have considered myself like addicted to creature comforts. I didn't go to Starbucks and these things. But our way of life in America is like, we sort of have like little treat culture. Like life is really hard. We work too much. We're barely getting by. And so you kind of get into this mentality of getting by with little things that make the day a bit brighter. A coffee here, a meal out there. And most of us probably don't realize that we're getting through life that way. I didn't until I moved to Norway, where life doesn't work that way. When you move to Norway for a high quality of life, you're, in my opinion, actually agreeing to trade most of those day-to-day conveniences and comforts for a longer term sort of happiness. Happiness knowing that people are safe in your family, knowing you won't go bankrupt if you get cancer. These all sound great. And yes, I know you're thinking about that when you think about moving to Norway. What you're probably not thinking about is that people don't eat out here unless it's a super special occasion, mostly because nobody can really afford it. But also, the pace of life is more centered around the home. We fetishize this concept of hygge, and like having a cozy home. We like that in America. We market it in America. But the reason it's popular in Scandinavia is because they make their home life and staying at home a huge part of what they do every day. Yes, of course, there's drinking and going out culture, but I'm telling you, the pace of life is different and there's more emphasis on staying at home and sort of living a quiet life. In Norway in particular, and they're famous among the other Scandinavian nations for this, entertainment involves being out in nature, going for a walk, riding a bike, riding a horse, picking mushrooms, picking berries is huge. When my daughter went back to America for the first time after a year, she was like trying to make friends with other 6-year-olds by asking them what their favorite berry was to pick. So when I say this has been an insulated culture, there is still a very simple, slower pace of life here. And I'm aware that there's very little I can do to tell you this without it going into this sort of like farm life, back to nature fantasy. But I'm telling you, as an American, our state of life is so much more intense all the time. And we're so addicted to those little things that get us through the day, material comforts. You're not going to be used to a place where it takes me 30 minutes to drive to a McDonald's. And the way you hang out with a friend is to go pick mushrooms in a bog. It's beautiful, but when you have to realize that when you're saying, I want a high quality of life, that's what you're going for. You're going for the slow, long-term success and happiness. You're going to be trading a lot of what you think makes your life happy day to day. Is it worth it? For me, it was. I'm healthier than I've ever been in my whole life and happier. But if you don't get your head straight about what you actually mean in your mind when you're seeking a better quality of life, I'm not sure it's going to be worth it to you to leave everything you've built in one life and in one culture to come here, because a lot of people then come here and they're bored and dissatisfied and they call Norway sort of a backwater with no culture. And that's just not the case. It's your pre-existing assumptions and actually misaligned goals that cause you to seek out the wrong thing in the wrong place here.